All right, we're recording.
We? Who's we?
Well, I mean, the government. We, as in, they're always recording.
Truth.
Hmm.
The day before the season finale,
Oh
we
my
still need
goodness!
to talk about episode 5.
Episode 5, season 2 of Loki. You know what? I saw that.
What? I saw that
Tell me
too.
what you saw.
Dude, it was trippy, of course. I am so thankful we got some backstory on some folks. That was very satisfying.
Yes, definitely.
I love that OB's like sci-fi hangout is the same structure as his office at the TVA.
I mean, not just his office, all of TVA. It's pretty clear that he helped build that place.
Yeah, right? He's like, I'm a science fiction writer. Oh yeah, and I have a PhD just to pay the bills,
Yeah, we all been there. Yeah.
I love that he's sneaking his books on the shelf at
Yeah.
the local bookstore.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
do what
I
you
think
got to do.
that's Gorilla Publishing there, I think. Yeah.
Well said.
But oh yeah, backstory is great to finally see him. Some were a little predictable that I mean, well, mainly Mobius. I mean, it's it's like episode 2, we sort of saw that one coming.
I was like, did he just own one? Or, why is he so keen on it? But of course, it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm,
You ready for your Poseidon moment?
mm-hmm.
Love his pitch. Well, they say a jet ski is a thinking man's ATV.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm not going to say that's not true, but okay.
I have yet to be on a jet ski, and honestly, not sponsored. I don't think it's a product placement on the part of Marvel or Loki, but I hope jet ski's getting a bump out of that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you are sort of the woman that does everything. You did skydiving, you do kayaking. I can see you on a jet ski.
Thank you. It is definitely on my list of things to do.
Especially after this show.
I mean, he sold me.
Oh,
I'm in.
she's in, everybody. She's in. We got her.
What else? So you
I,
think
I,
that everything's over at the end of the last episode, but that can't be it because there are 2 more episodes to go.
and
What and how?
there's so many clips in the trailers too.
Yeah. I think it's cheating to put in clips from previous episodes. Like, darn it, now I have to sift through this stuff.
I really did like that Mobius when he was in the jet ski place. Is that he was sort of blowing off his sons, but when things got serious, they were the only things he thought about.
Absolutely. He loved his boys.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, where'd you get those matches? Don't run. Don't.
Sends the other boy after him. Yeah.
And a snake. We'll negotiate later. Great exchange.
As somebody talking about you who has 2 children, I
Yes,
suspect that you relate.
I do. I mean, as far as I know, my kids never stole matches.
Then they hide it
uh,
well.
yeah, right. In their best interest. No, I'm kidding. Don't play with matches, kids. Um, I love that he loves his job and he loves his kids.
Yeah.
And I love seeing B15 as a doctor. I mean, that's what she was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
her reaction to Loki time slipping in and out, like, what?
And then let's talk about Casey.
Yeah, let's talk about Casey,
He's
an
one.
historic figure.
Oh yeah. I didn't know it was really that historic until I was watching some YouTube videos talking about it. But I was like, oh damn.
So I've been to Alcatraz with Stefan, my husband.
Again, woman that does everything.
We went there. He was on a work trip. I went with him, and we visited Alcatraz on a tour. And so I knew the history. And as soon as I saw that dummy head in a prison, right, that fake head in the bed, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's Alcatraz. So that's kind of cool that he's an historic figure.
I didn't know it was Alcatraz at first, but I just knew it was like, oh, this Prison Break.
Yeah. They have a
But
museum there on the island.
I gotta say, I do love the fact that he quoted what Loki said back in all the way in episode one. They keep going back to that episode one where Casey says they'll gut us like fish.
That's where that came from. Yeah.
So that's a nice little bring it back. And so
I love that you catch those. I'm not as good at that. So thank you for bringing those out.
oh, well, I just think it's like one of his most famous lines. What's a fish? I've lived my entire life in a cubicle.
Right? With this tesseract and these infinity stones.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, by the way, if Obi takes the safety protocols off, and people who can use magic, like Sylvie and Loki,
Mm-hmm.
would that not enable the time, the tesseract and all the
Oh,
infinity
yeah, we talked about
stones?
this last time. Yeah, yeah, it would have.
I'm just taking it to the next step.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please go on. Sorry.
No, that's it. No more elaboration than that. But
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I said the exact same thing last time. And then you
it's a
mentioned
time
about,
loop.
and you
Yeah.
mentioned about it too, the pod before that. So I was like, yeah, yeah, great,
Yeah.
great,
I'm
great.
not giving up. I'm not
I-
giving
I'm
up on
I'm
that.
never aging in this podcast. Great. All right.
Yeah, exactly. We're timeless. We're going to be in the ether, this podcast and our previous ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. What
But yeah,
else?
yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is. I mean, I do feel that they sort of really underplayed B-15s, uh, because oh, she's a doctor, and they sort of glanced over that very fast. But I did like how detailed they got into everybody else.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think she got her due.
But I mean, she was a major character in season one.
Hmm. Well, maybe it'll come in more going forward.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, I think it was the previous episode where Loki and Sylvie were having a drink. Was
It
that
was
this
this
episode?
episode.
Okay. And he's like, shouldn't they be given the choice now to stay at the TVA or go back to their lives?
Hmm.
I absolutely agree with him. They should be given a choice. I mean, she's all about free will. And eventually she comes around. That whole scene with her in the record store, I loved that entire scene.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen Netflix's Is It Cake? Coming to Disney Plus. Is it spaghetti?
Oh, nice. I felt so bad. Like he's witnessing it, right? The guy who owns the store.
Oh yeah, no, he noticed.
Watching the world fall apart. And then he thinks about Sylvie, right? She's got headphones on, she's unaware, and he
Yeah,
runs to her only to not make it.
yeah.
Tragic. But it just really brings home the lives that are taken on these timelines that are pruned, or in this case, dying. Why are they dying? Because of the loom?
Yeah, because of Loom.
Yeah.
Because Loki saw that even the TVA became spaghetti, which
Hmm.
is something that Obi mentioned in episode one of season two.
Remind me?
He was telling Loki, I forget all the details about. Do you know about the theory about black holes, spaghettiification? And then Loki said no, and Obi says, "Oh, good. All right, yeah, good thing."
And then just glossed right over that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
That was a little foreshadowing.
yeah, cause sort of glossed over it because it's like it's really horrible. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we saw it happen, yeah, to
starting with
multiple people and multiple timelines.
starting with He Who Remains, who you could tell from his reaction realized it was happening and suffered. Like he cried out.
A variant of He Who Remains, Victor Timely. And yes, you are
Yes,
correct.
but interestingly enough, the system that scanned his aura recognized him as He Who Remains.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
yeah, yeah. Something I brought up too about who is the real He Who Remains.
It's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they all the real ones? They're called variants only because
They're not from the sacred timeline.
right, yeah, it's from a particular perspective that they are designated branched or sacred.
That is right.
Yeah.
And I just love how Obi comes in with his makeshift uh, little telepad thingy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all janky. It keeps going back and forth, and Obi's still tweaking with it, even though he's going through it.
Yeah, Mobius and Loki are having a chat sort of next door to Mobius's house, and Obi's like moving the door around, like seeing what the controls do, and
Yeah,
making it happen. I love the scene where Loki's like, "Well, let's just focus on the science, right? Not the fiction, but the science."
right.
And right away, Obi zaps him, says, "Okay, electrical impulses do not induce time slipping."
Very
And he's like,
scientific.
"Ah!" He scares him. He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh my
yeah.
god."
The fight and flight reaction. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was just testing, 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 making notes.
yeah. Very good. I forget the actor's name, but I sure do love him in this show.
Yes, Ki Hui Kwan,
Ah, okay.
and yeah, I love the way he plays it. I love the way it's written. It's good stuff.
Very good. Very good. Definitely want to see more of him. But it does sort of
He's
feel
very
like that.
important.
That does sort of feel like that. The purpose of his character is to always be somewhat failing somehow.
Who?
Obi.
Oh, well, as I've heard it mentioned to me by our sibling and other sources as well, a lot of success is failing,
Mm-hmm.
figuring out what doesn't work. So if you want to get to success faster, fail faster.
True. I've heard that.
And he is the scientific method paired with earnestness, but like kind earnestness. He
Hmm.
doesn't seem to ever be doesn't hold a grudge. He moves on to the next moment. Like, I'm not listening to you because you're not making sense. Like he's always taking it all in and trying to do the best thing going forward.
Hmm. Hmm. I see. I see.
Hmm. So I thought one possibility at the end of the last episode, going into this one,
Mm-hmm.
was that they would all end up at the end of time.
Hmm.
You'll notice we did not check in very much with Renslayer and the decommissioned
Miss
minutes.
Minutes.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was all strictly a Loki episode of getting the band back together, which was a good line.
All the pens, all
Mm-hmm.
the pens.
Yep. Yep.
We're all in the cup. Yeah, it's a great analogy.
So I'm sure we'll probably get some more Renslayer next episode, but we'll see. We'll see. Really depends I mean, what can she do? Yeah.
Well, she must, if she's pruned, she goes to the end of time again.
She goes
Then
to the end of
clearly
time
she
with
can leave
Elias.
there. I'm
She doesn't
sorry.
go to the end of time with the Citadel.
Yeah, she goes into the Citadel, which looks like some sort of asteroid at this
No,
point.
no, she goes to Elias. That's where everything prune goes. So she has to deal with that.
Now hold on, let's reflect.
Okay.
When she was sent to the end of time in the episode where they were in Victor Timely's workshop in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Sylvie opened up a doorway, kicked her through it so she could be with the remains of he who remains.
Right, so straight to the Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Past
she
Elias.
came, right, like beyond him. and she came out of that, right? She had the
Yeah, she had her
benefit
own
of.
little TemPad. Yeah.
Hmm. Does she not still have that TemPad?
I don't know. I
I
mean, if
would
she
think she'd
does,
keep it on her.
I mean, if she still did have it, sure, she'd probably go around.
Yeah. I'm curious.
Which actually
So
sort of brings up a point that I did overlook last time. If they were rebooting a system, would that turn off all the TemPads? Because I mean, it took down Miss Minutes, and we know how influential she is to the whole system.
they locked her out, which it's interesting how that went. Yeah. So reboot just means shut down and then come back on.
Mm-hmm.
But they were locking her out of the system. And also, I don't know if they were intentionally or if that's part of the reboot, taking down her functions, right? Her higher function capabilities till she was just like a timekeeper with a voice.
Yeah, pretty sure that was a reboot.
Will that come back online, or is she out of the picture now?
I'm sure we'll see a version of her at some point. I hope we see a version of her because I mean the voice actress is great. We need more of her.
I wonder if Renslayer could fire her back up, but put her within her own control. You know, I mean, like Renslayer's control.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Together, if they work together cooperatively or one under the direction of the other, they could be formidable.
I mean, they
Formidable,
were pretty
longer.
scary when they were chasing after Victor Timely.
And what
About
they
how
did
they were
to
working together.
the
Until,
General Vox group.
yeah, it's like, oh boy.
And is Brad Wolf still with us? X5?
Last we
He
saw,
was,
he was in the war room recovering from Sylvie's mind influence, but then
yeah.
the loom exploded.
Yes, but then presumably Loki time slipped.
At the very end of the episode, he controls it.
Yeah. So good. So what do you think's going to happen?
What do I think is going to happen? Well, I mean, I want to know what happened to Renslayer. I want to know, is Miss Minutes coming back? I want to know which side Victor Timely's going to fall on on how the TVA should be ran. I mean, there's a lot of I want to knows. What I think is going to happen? I don't know. I think I got a little tainted of a YouTube video I saw talking about it, but I don't know.
Well, let me just say, I'm thinking this as we're sitting here, right? I hadn't thought about it ahead of time.
Okay.
But if Loki's in control of traveling through time, period, right?
Yeah.
It seems to me that Victor Timely and his invention were needed. So we need to get him through that doorway into the TVA sooner and get out to the device sooner and increase the size of the loom sooner, right? Don't go back prior to that. Go back to then and increase the loom's capability so you don't have to prune anymore. And then fix things going forward, like putting controls in place for He Who Remains coming back, or
Not really He Who Remains, but all the Kang variants that are coming back, as we've
right,
seen
true.
at the end of Ant-Man.
Yes, all of his variants.
All of them.
Renslayer was, where was she at that point?
Now she
She
was
was
pruned.
already at the end of time.
Yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
she's probably dealing with a Goliath unless she has a temp pad, if it still works.
So, no, I mean, when Victor Timely was about to go out and put his device in place,
Yeah.
she had not been pruned a second time.
No,
She'd
she's only
only
been
been
pruned
pruned
at one
once. So
time.
she was with Miss Minutes at the end of time, not dealing with the monster, already in the Citadel.
Yeah, that wasn't pruned. That was going through the time door.
You're right, you're right. I say pruning. You're right. Um,
Because pruning takes you to one specific point, as they showed in season 1,
yeah,
and they have to use the time door to get past that point.
good point. Yes, through the time door. So she was in the Citadel with Miss Minutes when Victor Timely was going to put his device in place.
No, Miss Minutes was shut down, and Renslayer was pruned. That's how they got Victor Timely back from them.
So this particular episode that we just finished,
Hmm.
episode 5,
Yeah.
that's when Miss Minutes was locked out
Yes.
and Renslayer was pruned.
Right.
And Victor was spaghettified in episode 4.
Right. And then at the end of this
So if
episode, Loki time skipped to before he got spaghettified,
hmm
because they showed at the last second they showed the scene of OB and Loki standing on top of the stairs, which can be seen in episode 4, where Victor Timely's about to go outside.
right. So at that point, when Victor steps outside, Renslayer is in the Citadel.
No, she was pruned.
We're gonna have to settle that. I disagree.
Sylvie used her magic on X5. He walked in, he pruned her.
Right, but that was in episode 5. In
4.
episode 4, she had been kicked through the time door and was in the
That was the
Citadel
end of
with Miss
episode
Minutes.
3. They started episode 4 of her already in the Citadel.
Okay, so she's in the Citadel. She comes back, right, to
Yeah.
question Brad and Vox and all those folks.
Yeah.
So she's moving around the
Put Vox in
TVA
the
and wherever
box.
she wants. Yeah, exactly. That's episode
4.
And what episode was Timely Spaghettified?
At the end of episode 4.
And where was she at the end of episode 4?
She was pruned. Because they pruned her before they saved Timely.
They saved Timely from his workshop.
Well, that was episode 3.
Right.
Yeah, they
So
saved
he was
him
saved.
from her twice. Once in Chicago, or actually it technically wasn't Chicago, but it was a Chicago episode.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
And then again in the TVA, when her and Miss Minutes had control, they shut Miss Minutes down and then pruned Renslayer.
And saved him a second time.
Yeah. And now it's like Loki might save him for a third time from becoming spaghetti.
Because we saw that shot from behind him But it, like in the trailer, but it looked like he was
Hmm.
becoming spaghetti again. But if he can endlessly time slip whenever he wants,
Yeah.
Loki, then he can find just the right spot to get the device in the loom to protect Victor. And in the end, if he wanted to, he could make a big sacrifice and change the timeline as far as Sylvie ever being pruned, couldn't he? Could he save all the timelines from ever being pruned?
That's possible. I mean, time works differently in the TVA.
And he's time slipping,
True.
which means he's a time traveler.
Yeah,
I mean, from
but
the TVA, you can go anywhere, but also he can prevent the pruning of any branch ever if
it's
he wanted.
possible.
Yeah,
But then again, we just gotta be careful with the whole variant thing.
it's interesting. If he saved Sylvie from ever being pruned, she might have a happy life, but he would give up any relationship they ever had.
Well, I think you mean when the TVA picked her up.
Right, right. When
Yeah.
they said this is your Nexus event and
Hmm.
pruned her timeline and stole her.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
interesting stuff.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, there's gotta be some limits to his ability to time slip.
Well, he is a god, and it took him a long time to get a handle on it.
I mean, how often have you time traveled?
I can't talk about that now.
Okay. Now, I've already talked about it, but you'll hear it later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sad that there are only 6 episodes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, finally, the second half of the show really got going. Well, probably it's like after the first third, really, because I still say those first two. Oh, God, they were a bit of a slog. Some interesting stuff,
Yeah,
but a slog.
yeah. It was worth it though. It was worth it.
Hmm. I don't know. I think they still could have been trimmed down.
I agree. Maybe we should time slip and take care of that.
Yes, yes.
I'm just glad to say I saw that.
Oh, hey, I saw that too. And I guess we shall probably be doing another one really soon, as we are here at the eve of the season 2 finale. Question mark on a season 3. Question mark on what they're going to do with the show.
Yep, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but all right. Well, I guess this is probably a good stopping point as we reach a near half-hour mark. I just want to say thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, sis, for joining me again.
Thank you, bro.
Sure thing. And to everybody out there, I'll see you next time. And time again, 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 and again.
For all time.
Always. Bye.
Bye.